This is episode 2 of It's Inktober, but I can't draw. So instead, I'm gonna color. This book by Ashley Monet has 31 images, which is perfect because there are 31 prompts for October. In today's episode, I'm going to be tackling 5 different prompts, and I have to do so following 3 different rules. Rule number 1, the page needs to match the prompt. And so if the Inktober prompt is reckless, I need to make the page look reckless. Rule number 2, I need to make sure I'm adding something to the background because I do need to get over my fear of drawing and then start to learn how to create a background. It doesn't have to be a full-on image, but it has to be something. And then rule number 3, I gotta put a sticker on it. All right, enough of me talking. Let's turn the camera over and see what I have created. So the first prompt of the day is Pierce, and for that I chose Voodoo Victor and Voodoo Valerie because quite obviously they're pierced with all those little pens being voodoo dolls. I could have chosen the prompt button for them as well, but I have that one saved for a later one, which I felt fit a bit better for that one. So I decided to start by coming in with some purple here, and I'm going to make her look a bit patchy as though she has various purple patches. It's a bit difficult to have both a patch and a, shadow color at the same time. There was some crossover between them, but I saved the very darkest, super aubergine purple for some of the darker patches on her face and of course for her heart. And for her buttons, I'm going with a really nice pine green color. I thought that would match very well. And I have the same color for her bow, as well as for the buttons on Voodoo Victor's eyes as well. So just have all of them be that same green color. Now for Voodoo Victor, I decided to go with orange for him, and this kind of makes it a really nice Halloween theme, having the purples and the oranges next to each other. And same sort of concepts as Voodoo Valerie, trying to use various shades of orange, leaving some of the darkest of the shades for some of the patches, like the heart patch as well. Onto my stickers, I have these kind of like foamy, glittery cat stickers, and since I have both of an orange and a purple one, I figured I would try both of them. Maybe it's like their own dolls, and that's why they have such small cats next to them. I'm not sure 100% if I'm happy with this decision, but you know, I went with it, and it took me a while to decide where to put it, so I decided to kind of put them here in the foreground instead. And then on top of that, the quote that I have is, "Nobody does it better." I'm thinking more that's Valerie and how much she's in love with Voodoo Victor, and nobody does it better than him in making her feel okay. And this black cat sticker, yeah, it has to go. But it's just leaving foam pieces and glitter all over my page, and then I ripped the paper, so that has to be fixed. So best way to fix something like that up is to cover it up, and so I'm adding in a red apple here, and that's because if our prompt is pierce, you have to think in terms of what else could be pierced. And as a kid, I'd often see an apple-shaped pin holder, so that is going to hold some of those different pins which are being put into Voodoo Valerie and Voodoo Victor. Of course, we need some hearts, and this time I decided to freehand it instead of using the stencil. The orange one doesn't look too terrible, although the purple one is still a bit wonky. And I decided to make it look like they're sitting on some kind of wooden planks, whether that's a tabletop or whether it's the floor, either could work. And so I was just coming in with some paint pens for that. And now, worst mistake of the page, even worse than tearing the page, is trying to add a face onto these cats. Because again, this is not regular stickers, this is like glitter foam. And so even like using my fine liners don't work, and it's absolutely terrifying. Trying to give them cat whiskers, and it just looks like cat mustaches and just like the worst black eyes from hell. It's fine. Anyway, final touches means I need to add in all of the different pins on my pin cushions, and I'm adding in some extra pins into the dolls as well, using my gold jelly roll to give them a golden top so that they're like white pins with a golden top. And that ends our day 1 of the day, or day 6 in the challenge, which is Pierce. Moving into day 2, I have Starfish, and of course the Starfish has to go with the one mermaid that we have in the book. I was very excited to do this one, and I was looking forward to it because I love the idea of having a nice pastel mermaid. So I'm beginning with some purple hair, and in retrospect these are kind of the same colors that I used in the mustachioed alien from the first episode, but you know, they're a great combo that works together. And a minty tail over here. I was trying to add different dots to make it look like those shiny scales. I'm not sure if it just makes her look like a freckled mermaid, who knows. And then throwing in some white highlights as well. For the rock, I was initially going to do gray, but then I went with the sandy colored, which I'm not sure if I fully like, but adding in some dots and shadows I think really helped it out slightly. And I add some freckles onto her as well. And then I added in a very dark blue for the water, and even if it looks a tiny bit like the black of the sky, it's still something. So the reason I was looking forward to this so much is because I've been wanting to use these stickers for a while. And I'm not sure if I'm happy with them, but it's a thing. Now she's wearing a very, very oversized hat. And the bikini, however, seems to fit. I couldn't really put the bikini bottom on, but I added in my little starfish as a little flower crown to the skull. And I had to put in this like fork thingy because of, you know, Ariel and her love of forks to comb her hair. And finally she gets a handbag. So now she's a mermaid at the beach, kind of like a beach lady. For the background, I added in some stars, and I'm not sure if I like my diamondy sparkle things, but I see people wear it. And then I decided to fix this swimsuit because I realized that it's covering her hair, and technically her hair should cover the bathing suit. So I cut off the pieces that were there, and thankfully it wasn't too tacky. It was able to come off. And the quote that she has is, "Hey baby," on a little sticker voice caption that had lost all of its tackiness, so I had to re-glue it on. And here we have our final result. The next page is the one immediately following it, and this is for the prompt Reckless, and it's with the cat lava lamps. So taking a page out of Ashley Monet's book, I was trying to create a gradient, but I wanted to create a gradient not using the gradient colors she has used, so I decided to do my own gradient of purple going to red. I really don't know how she makes them so smooth. For me, these gradients are still just like a bit like choppy with how I colored it, but it's okay, it'll work out. And then same as what Ashley Monet did, I decided to black out the cats, but the difference is I left their eyes white. And of course you have to add in some of those juicy highlights with the juicy highlight time. Alright, now for the background, I was debating initially making it red as though it was a blood splatter, but then I thought that was too much red on red and it needed some contrast in the page, so I decided to make it green, and I was trying to create a bit of a gradient of dark on the outside going light on the inside. Of course my blending is still not the greatest, it's very streaky, but you know, I don't really know exactly what I'm doing and it's fine. So the reason this page fits the prompt Reckless is because I'm imagining that these cats are cat burglars. And so they've been caught in this little lava lamp. One of them is thinking to himself he's super stressed out. And the other one is shouting at the other one saying, "Way to go, Kevin." The third cat, Kevin, is annoyed at being told off, so he says, "Shut up, Steve." Anyway, demonstrating how stressed they are at being caught inside this lava lamp, which is incidentally a thief catcher incorporated. Alright, so that then kind of shows that they're reckless because they made a bad decision, maybe in thieving, or maybe they weren't great thieves. Either way, they were reckless and they got caught. So I'm going to try to draw in a money bag, like those cartoon money bags, but on a separate sheet of printer paper and then glue it in, as opposed to trying to recreate this using the paint pens, which is what I would have had to do otherwise considering the background is black. And so please excuse my very poor cutting skills, my absolutely terrible drawing skills, and my filthy hands, but you know, it works out. It looks like a dirty old money bag, and then the most irritating part ever is trying to glue in these tiny pieces of gold. I really should have taken my eyebrow tweezers for that, but it worked out. And so day 8, Reckless, now comes to a close. The next prompt that I'm tackling is heavy, and what is heavier than a broken heart? And what color is a broken heart? Why, it's blue, of course, because it's feeling so very blue. So I'm coming in with 3 different shades of sort of demony blue, and of course the line work of Ashley Monet is really helpful for showing you where the shadows go. She left some of her shading in a very, very light gray, and so just kind of following some of that, which is very helpful. And this is the first time I've ever colored a heart that looks like a heart, as opposed to like the parallel, candy hearts that you get. And this one has a bunch of nice little veins and stuff in it too. Instead of the caption coming in a speech bubble this time, I decided to put it directly on the heart, and I thought that handle with care is probably the best one to fit this situation, because you do have to care for our poor little broken hearts that we have here. And to top it off, because one of my rules is I have to create a background, instead of making the background too complicated with designs, I decided to put in some song lyrics on the side. Can you figure out which song I'm singing? Because you're hot and you're cold. Yep, it's Katy Perry. I figured that Katy Perry song of being hot and you're cold and you're yes and you're no would definitely lead to a very broken heart, as there's a lot of confusion that comes with someone being a bit flaky in a relationship. So I decided to color this in along all of the 4 different edges here to give it a nice little boardy border. And I think that's a perfect decision because it added just enough of je ne sais quoi to finish the page without overwhelming it, leaving our poor little broken heart here the center of attention. And my final prompt of the day is with Nessie, our little mermacorn here, and the prompt is sweep. At first I thought sweep because she would just sweep you away, or she would just like throw her head in a sweeping motion with that beautiful mane. But there's another reason that I think sweep fits this page very well, and you'll find out in just a second. So when I was first coloring this, I thought that I would have it be a bit more of light yellow with hints of orange, but then I went too far too quickly and I had to continue. So now she's just a very, very orange, like what's it called, a mermacorn. Alright, here is the big reveal. What do you sweep with? A broom, of course. Nessie here is holding on to a broomstick. So I'm creating this by using my acrylic paint pens, first with a layer of white to give it some nice background so that the other colors can pop. Then a light brown, then a darker brown, and then coming into a bit of yellow toward the straw. And then of course you have to throw in some more of those browns, the light brown, the dark brown, and then finally to end it all, just a hint of black. And voila, you then have a broom for her to sweep with. So upon further thought, I didn't want her to be Cinderella style of just like sweeping all sad. To me, it looked a tiny bit like she was floating, and so then I found a perfect sticker here saying shoot the moon. And so I am very badly cutting out a very wonky circle. Yes, I could have used a template, but it's fine. I was trying to eyeball it. I was too lazy to get out a template. And then I tried to color in the circle a tiny bit to make it look a bit weird. And this is going to be my nice little full moon for the background that she is shooting for, because Nessie has left the oceans and she is now flying. And to make it Halloweeny, we have a bat sticker I can put on top of the moon. To really emphasize that she's in the sky, let's throw in some bubbly clouds. So instead of wispy clouds, I'm just making them the cartoony clouds. And voila! Here is Nessie enjoying her time as a witch on a beautiful full moon night. Well, this brings me to a third of the way through the Inktober challenge and a third of the way through the book. In this episode, we went over 5 different prompts, which is Pierce, Starfish, Reckless, Heavy, and finally Sweep. And coming in now for our final flip through. First, we created Voodoo Victor and Voodoo Valerie being pierced with extra little pierces as they're piercing each other with their loving gaze. We then have a starfish lady who's enjoying her time on the beach, some catnappers who are caught by a catch thief lava lamp, a poor little blue broken heart filled with the songs of Katy Perry, and finally Nessie, our little mermacorn, flying away like a witch on a moonlit night. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week for episodes 2, after I scare you with my filthy hands. Bye! Have a good one.